course, it's Mello back at you with another video, and what we getting into today is sound selection. I'm gonna do multiple parts on this, but right now I'm gonna give you the basics, and I'm not gonna be creating a lot during this one because I got everything laid out. I'm just here to prove different points. Timbre is gonna be the first thing that we get into. So what timbre is, if you're not aware, is basically the unique voice or color that a sound has. Think of yourself as a painter and think of music as a canvas, as art. You use different things, different tones, different textures, all that good stuff to paint a picture. Each sound is a color. The way it usually goes, just to keep it simple, there are different words used to describe the voice or timbre. So the ones that I stick with are bright, which is usually things like bells and stuff like that. You have warm, which is usually things within the mid frequency heavy, kind of leaning towards the lower frequency. But then you have dark, and dark is heavy in the low frequencies. So when you think of timbre, think of that. As far as timbre, if you play two different instruments on the same note, it's gonna sound different. Each one is gonna sound different because they all have their own unique voice. But some might sound, warm. Some might sound bright. So let's play through these, and all of these notes are going to be hitting C5. I want you to notice how different each of them sounds, and then at the end there's going to be all the C5 notes layered, and I want you to pay attention to how that sounds. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you pick sounds and layer sounds, because the way that I look at it is you want to fill up the lower frequencies. Usually you do that with bass. You usually keep that exclusive to bass. You want to fill up the mid frequencies, which is going to be some type of chords or melody. That's how I usually do it. And then you want to fill up the high frequencies, which is also going to be chords or melody, one or the other. So when you pick instruments, you want to look at it like that. And we're going to get to the second thing that I want to go over, which is octaves. If you play this note, it's more warm. But if you go deeper on this same instrument, that's dark. So with this, I have a melody or chords and a melody already set out. So let's listen to the chords really quick. They're kind of deep. They're sitting kind of deep. Very warm, not really that dark. Not really taking up the low frequencies too heavy. But if we go and we get a similar instrument and have it in the same octave, this instrument right here, let's listen to it. That's also warm, closer to dark. So if we play both of them at the same time and these are in the same octave, watch what happens. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like something's clashing. It sounds like frequencies are clashing. And it's not necessarily the notes clashing because the notes are on point. Everything is on point musically. But as far as the composition, but as far as that, it's sitting too dark. Let's boost it up 2 octaves and see what that does. Now these aren't the best sounds, but we'll get to better sounds later. But that sounds a lot better. Even then, let's say this is too dark. We could lift it up an octave as well. But even then, it's still too close to this, and the sounds are too similar, so they kind of clash to my ear. I don't know about your ear. I picked a different instrument as well. Let's push this back down 1 octave. Now, if you look at that, I got a brighter instrument than the other one that we have, the warm melody instrument that we just used. And it doesn't have to go 2 octaves up. It's just 1 octave up from where the chords are at, and it sounds a lot better. Let's go over that one more time. Let's listen to it and go through both of them. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Timbre and octaves, you don't want and even when you're layering instruments, it doesn't really make sense to have a warm instrument over an instrument that's equally warm. Now let's go to the next pattern. And what we have here is better quality instruments from Omnisphere. So the other tip that I have is basically you get out what you put in. Use high quality sounds.
Better beats, better sounds. I'm racist.
You know, you want to use the highest quality sounds you can have access to. And sometimes they may not be that good on RAM and things like that. There are different things you can do for that, but we're not going to get into that right now. What we're going to do is play what I have. I have a Super Saw Sensation selected for the chords, and I have a Memoriam or whatever, which is one of the most used bells out of Omnisphere, one of the most used bells in the game today. Let's play it. Same composition. So that sounds a lot better than because as far as this VST is possible, not possible, but it's capable of pushing out the best sounds that you could possibly get. Just to give you some tips on where you can get good sounds. Omnisphere is good, but what if you can't get Omnisphere? You want to do your research on plugins. Kontakt has a lot of high quality libraries that you can get. You know, Output makes, I think they make Arcade, and they make Exhale and a bunch of other, you know, Kontakt libraries that are super good. You have 8DAW, and 8DAW makes a lot of real instruments. You know, they sample a lot of real instruments. They got really high quality stuff. The Expand VST itself, it has some real instruments in there. It's decent. You have Nexus 3. I'm gonna go to the last pattern so we can go over the last couple of lessons. So the last one is use real instruments. Now, if you can get loops or somebody that actually can play a real instrument, that's ideal. That's super ideal. If you, no VST will beat the real thing. That's just a fact. If you got somebody who can really play the guitar and is really good with playing the guitar, it's gonna come out better than the VST in most cases. So with that being said, you know, I got a piano selected, I got the guitar, and I got a flute selected. So let's play those. As far as the real instruments, I want to be clear, you know, use VSTs that mimic real instruments, or use loops that have real instruments in them or mimic real instruments, and best case scenario, have somebody play a real instrument for you. I'm giving you a little bit more than just go and pick the right sounds, because that sounds cool, but these are ways to pick the right sounds, know what you're picking, and make it fit. Those are the tips that I have for today. Very simple, straightforward. You know, leave a comment, let me know what you think. You know, let me know what else you want to see. Also, I have a speaking channel, go and check that out. And also Heart in the Piano 2, Volume 2 is out right now, so go cop that. But other than that, I'm out.